Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Hawk Hustle Morning Show. I am your host, Jerisha Hawk. I'm a high-ticket sales coach, business consultant, and I help individuals like you who have an area of expertise and a skill set. I teach you how to package your offer. I teach you how to position it in the marketplace, and I will teach you how to sell your services consistently. Today, we're going to be talking about something that we haven't talked about really in depth up until this point, and I think it's about time that we start elevating our conversation with one another. Okay, like we're gonna start having some frank, candid conversations about something that I really see overlooked. Period in business, and especially in the digital space. We're gonna really start to elevate our conversations together. Okay, and if you're new to me, you may hear my tone of voice as a bit calm, but the heat will be brought. Okay, just understand that. I'm in Chicago right now, so the time zone change, even though it's but by an hour for me from Detroit, still has me a bit, it still impacts the overall way I show up. But I just want you to know, even though I'm speaking so eloquently, talking about how we need to elevate our conversations with one another and talk about the other side of business. And this is something, like I said, that we really haven't talked about on here yet. I need you just to be prepared, okay? Like we are all going to be rising together. We're going to be rising together, okay? One thing that I'm learning as I grow in business, and one thing that I'm realizing as our community is growing, like the Hawk Hustle community is growing, the clientele that I work with in services that sell, we are growing. And it's like this world is too small. Like in anything in business, like especially if you're operating and selling clients in the digital space, even just in life period, like you being a like woman owned business, or being a woman of color owned business, or being a man of color owned business, like you are going to run into you're going to run into people. So the world isn't that big. It's not as big as we think it is. And karma is real. Like all that stuff is like solid, right? But what I want us to talk about, and we're going to start shifting our conversation to incorporate this more into our conversations, is the other side of business. What happens after the sale, right? And we're going to talk about this from a couple different perspectives. From the buyer's perspective, meaning if you're the one purchasing something, what happens after you've bought something from a service provider, or from a you bought something of an elevated price point. You've paid more than four figures for it. What happens? What should you expect as a consumer after you purchase something like that? And how do you behave as a client after you purchase something like that? So we're going to talk about things from the vantage point of that, like the other side of business, from the buyer's, the customer, the client's perspective. And we're also going to talk about the other side of business from the seller's perspective. You being the one doing the selling of your services, you being the one making promises and having to uphold those promises, and like what that needs to look like. So I see a lot of you guys popping on. Feel free to say hey in the comments and let me know you're here. Hi, Monique. I see Dora, Earth and Magic, Jasmine Cooper. I think it's Kaid, Melissa. I don't do budgets. Hey, girl. Monica's on. Ola's on. Amuse from Brooklyn is on. Just pop in the comments. Hey, Rachel. Hi, Autumn. Let me know you guys are here. Throw some hearts up on the screen. Give me some love this morning. I'm sending you guys love this morning. But I want us to talk about this. Hey, Sierra. And because I think and let me know if my perception is wrong. This is definitely my perspective and from my vantage point. But I feel like not just us, but I feel like period in the online business, digital, just business period space, people talk a lot about making money. How do you get the sales? How do you make the money? How do you convert the client? How do you close the client? But how often is, I feel like the conversation on the flip side is not talked about as much. What happens after the sale? How do you handle refunds? What should you expect about refunds? How do you handle clients ghosting you? What if you are a client and you ghosted somebody else? How do you properly serve your client to make sure that your client is getting results? Like getting the sale is just step one. Getting the sale is just step one. right? It is an important step, but that's not the end. Like, that's not the end result. So often people are like, I just want to get the yes. I just want to get the yes. Getting the yes begins the rest of the journey. Getting the yes builds what your reputation is going to be. Getting the yes is like the start of how you begin to define what your legacy is, right? That's just the beginning. That is like the gun shooting at the beginning of the race. That's the starting line. But then what happens after the sale? How do you maintain integrity with your clients? How do you like have proper communication and enforce healthy boundaries, and be able to converse and conversate around what's working, what's not working? How do you know when to fire a client? How do you know when to bring a new client on? Like all of these things, like people really, and I don't want to call it the negative side of business because I don't want us to look at it as a negative thing. It's just part of business, but it's just not as sexy as selling. It's not as sexy as like, let's go collect the coins. After you collect the coins, like, you have to be a good steward of said coins that you have just collected. And like, what does it mean to be a good steward of the coins that you brought into your business? What does it mean to be a good steward of the person that you just brought on and the client that you just brought on, right? It's not negative. It's just part of business. Like getting refunds is part of business. Getting clients that ghost you is not a part of business that you want to be experiencing frequently, but it happens. Clients breaking contracts, you breaking your contract, you not upholding your end of the bargain, you over enrolling clients and getting over capacity and not. Nobody likes to talk about this. Nobody likes to talk about this. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do what nobody likes to do. We're going to keep it 100% real over here at the Jerisha Said Show. We're going to keep it 100% real over here at Hawk Hustle headquarters. And I'm going to need y'all to tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your auntie, tell anybody you know running a business. If they want to talk about the real, like we talk about how to make the money, which is important. Like that's your number one objective in business in the beginning is generate revenue. Like you need to be making money. But you also need to be understanding that business isn't just making money. Your clients are not your personal ATM machines, right? Like none of us have an emotional attachment to that machine when we go to the bank to like put our card in and get our money out. Like, half the time before the screen says, thank you, have a good day, you've already walked off, right? You've already walked off. Right? So, but like as a business owner, regardless of what your service is or what your industry is or what service you sell, I don't care if you're an attorney, an accountant, a real estate agent, a freelancer, a virtual assistant, a copywriter, a business coach, a life coach, a relationship coach, a therapist, like regardless of what high ticket service you may sell, this is just part of business. And I want us to have more elevated conversations around that. And why it is very important for you to think about this. Like, it's not just foreseeing what are like all the crazy things that can happen with clients, because believe me, I got stories for days. But I want to also make sure that we're talking about how do we properly have better communication with our clients? How do we ensure that our clients get consistent results? Because that will have all of these things have a huge impact on the future ROI that you bring in, right? And I think it's really important that we need to start shifting our focus to not just give our attention to how do we get the dollars in, right? Like how do I start just making the first bit of my money? We need to start thinking more long term. We need to start thinking for longevity. We need to start thinking about our business as something that's going to be viable and sustainable for the long haul. And if in order for you to have a sustainable business, you need to be able to properly serve your clients. And I want us to define what does it mean to serve your clients and what does being of service to your clients look like? Like having healthy boundaries is being of service to you and to your client. Having contracts in place is being of service to you and to your client. Like we have to shift some belief systems around that. I know when you throw out contract, I know some people are like, well, I don't want to sign a contract. I don't want my client signing contracts. I'm like, well, you sign contracts in any other environment. When you purchase a car, you sign a contract. When you go rent a new apartment, you sign a contract. When you purchase a home, you sign a contract. When you started working at your place of employment, like when you got a job, you signed an employee contract. Like, and the contract is not a bad thing. Like you shouldn't look at it as like some negative thing. It is something that protects both you and protects your client. I want us to talk about beyond just that aspect of service, but being able to deliver on the promise that you put on your sales page. So like whatever you promised your client over the phone when you were having your sales call, you being able to uphold your end of the bargain. And how do you also make sure that you're serving your client by holding them accountable to what they said that they were going to uphold? And then I also want to talk about like how does it need to look like for you to get your clients consistent results? That being of service, like that's building something sustainable. So I hope like this should be of interest to you. If it's not, like we're gonna keep like over here. This is something I'm just taking a stance on. I'm not just gonna talk about how to make money. It is important. We will talk a lot about sales. But there's an aspect of selling that does not need to be sleazy. It does not need to be out of integrity. And that is not how I teach people to do sales. Like I'm never going to teach you how to be a prostitute in your business. Like we're going to just get blunt this morning. Okay. I'm never going to teach you to be a prostitute in your business. And what I mean by that, how do you guys define being a prostitute? Doing something you do not want to do just for the money. I'll let that settle in for a sec. Because I know some of us, and I'm going to say us, because we are a family, we are a community. Okay, if you are listening to this, you've been adopted. You are somebody's cousin now or somebody's auntie now. We are family. We are not about to be pimping each other out, which happens. Like sometimes you hire coaches and you join coaching programs, or sometimes you're the person that hired the client and you're pimping your client out, right? Treating them like you would. They're only there for the money. Right? Or if you've hired anybody that's taught you sales in any capacity and they're like, just do whatever you have to do to get the coins, like say yes to everything, you're being pimped. And or if you treat your clients like that, you are doing the pimping. And guys, we have got to be better. Like it's almost 2020. Like we've got to elevate. So that is just, I'm not for that. Oh my gosh. We got to do better. And we're going to have more conversations around that because it's important for us to do so. And that's what's necessary for you to build a business that is going to be sustainable and is going to last. You should be laying a foundation of integrity. You should be operating out of integrity. But I think we hear these words, like, what is it? Like, I think we hear these words, like you should be acting out of self-integrity. You should be acting out of integrity. You should be serving your clients. But we're going to make sure that we define what that actually means. Right? People say you need to have boundaries, but many of us have heard these terms and we understand the concept, but we have not learned fully yet how to implement and apply that on a consistent basis in our business. Okay? So I want us to talk about that. Well, it's not we will be talking about that, and we will be starting to talk more about the other side of business and having very frank and honest conversations about that. So I'm just putting up the PSA announcement. Okay? Guys, this is just going up on the bulletin board in the hallway. PSA, if you're a business owner who sells services and you want to talk about the other side after the sell, tell your friends, share this content, tell them to come yonder because we're going to keep it 100% real over here, okay? And I don't know why nobody likes to talk about this stuff. Well, I mean, I know why, because it's scary, it can be whatever, like, but you need to be prepared for it. Like, you will be a better business owner if you are prepared for this. Like, if you are prepared for knowing how to enforce a contract, if you are prepared, what do I do when a client doesn't pay? What do I do when a client has a failed payment? What do I do when a client ghosts me? What do I do when I've ghosted the client that I hired, right? That happens, like, and nobody, like, I don't care what anybody says. I know just because of statistics alone, somebody watching this right now has paid for something and did not show up, has hired a coach and didn't come to a call, has hired a web designer and like gotten their website design and didn't pay, or has like, and I'm not saying that because I know of any of you personally that may have done that. It's just based off statistics. It's just somebody here has. And maybe you've done it and didn't even know. Or like, let's talk about the other side of business of, you know, what's the fine line between being inspired by somebody else's content and like straight plagiarizing somebody else's content. These are things that happen. So like, what happens if you're the one that does it? How do you respond? Because I know sometimes like maybe you do it and you didn't know that you did it. because of lack of, I mean, I'm going to call it ignorance, but it's just lack of awareness in how business operates. And I think sometimes there's fine lines when we get into this digital space. Like I don't know, the rules that we think in our mind just go out the window than what happens in normal life, or what happens when somebody rips off your content. Like, this is stuff that we need to talk about, because I'm not going to call it, is not negative. It's not a bad part of business. It's part of business. It is part of business. So see the face, we're talking about this. Right. And then what is it also, like, I think another part of sales is, how do you get repeat clients? How do you get referral clients? And how do you make sure that you serve your client in a way that sets you up to get referrals and sets you up to get repeat clients? Like, you know, I love the point that Monica just made about when the program is done and there's just a simple cutoff communication, like thank you, goodbye, forever. You know, is that being of best service to your audience? Is that being of best service to your client? Like, it's just, we have to think beyond the first yes, right? I understand that if you're in a place in business where if you're just making, your first 4 figures, making your first 5 figures, like trying to get to a healthy 5-figure business, we have got to think beyond the initial transaction, right? And the other side of business is you thinking beyond the first transaction. You want to think beyond the first transaction. Like, and I use dating as the reference all the time. Like, you want to be building long-term healthy relationships with your clients. So I don't want you just having a bunch of one-night stands racking up your count, right? Like, if you just have a client and, you smash, you get the yes, you get the client contract, and you don't speak to them ever again. Like, I don't want you building a business, a bunch of one-night stands. We want long-term healthy relationships. That means there needs to be continuous conversation after you guys have had an engagement. Okay? Continuous conversation after you've had an engagement, right? It needs to, you want to start doing this. So let me know if you guys are in agreement. Are we all in agreement to this? Is this what everybody is cool to be signing up for? That we need to have, us incorporating more of these conversations into the routine here on the podcast, on the Hot Hustle Morning Show. Let me know if you guys are in agreement. Are we all on one accord here? Throw up some hearts. Give me a thumbs up. And to start off with this, I want you guys to submit your questions. Like, let me know where you struggled with this personally. Let me know where you struggled with this with clients that you've had. Let me know where you struggled with this, you being the client that did the ghosting. And there's no shade. There's no shade around it. There's no shade around it, because it's part of business. And as long as you're willing to grow, I think grace can be distributed to you, right? You need to give yourself grace. You need to forgive yourself. Nobody is going to be perfect in business, but it's really about how you respond when you make a mistake. It's really about how you choose to react when something hasn't gone your way or haven't gone as expected. And we've got to do better. We've got to do better. And I'm not just saying us as individual business owners, but I mean us as a community. I very much, and this is something that is growing on my heart more as the Services That Sell community. If you guys are paid clients of mine, I need you to know that we're like the Federation now. I view us as sorority fraternity type of level. And I've never crossed, I'm not Greek, but I say that in the sense that once you enroll in Services That Sell, we are a reflection of each other. If you are a paid client of mine, we are a reflection of each other. Even if you're not a paid client of mine, if you are an active participant in our community, we are a reflection of each other, right? If you're out here fooling, you make all of us look bad. If I'm out here fooling, I make y'all look bad. If you have enrolled in my program and have gone through our process and you serve your clients and people, and I brag on you guys, I promote you guys. If you are in my program and you get results and you do the work, I will invite you to come onto my podcast. I will invite you to be, I will put you on a pedestal. I will make sure people know how dope you are. We are now have to maintain integrity with each other, right? It's just, this business thing is more than just me getting money. This business thing is more than just you getting money. right? Like we have to make sure that, and the same thing goes for the clients that you bring on to your business that you impact. How are you maintaining integrity between them, and also making sure you're teaching them or educating them in whatever aspect of business that you help them with, how to maintain integrity. So it doesn't matter what service you sell. It's always an aspect of business of how do we do this ethically? How do we do this within integrity? How do we uphold best standards? Like how do we pull each other up to operate from a space of excellence, period. Right? Like that's what it's about. Like that is what I care about. I don't want to work with clients who want to be sleazebags. I don't. Because one, it just don't feel right, like in my heart morally. And I don't think that's how we should be portraying and projecting and helping businesses grow. Like you should be able to operate in business with integrity, with ethical standards, with a level of morale that you can be proud of, and still make good money and still have a huge impact, right? Like we all have to level up. We all do. And that means me, if you enroll with me, I'm going to call you to probably be better than you've been before. Not even probably, I will call you to be better than you've been before. I will call you to operate from a space of excellence you didn't know that you could operate at. Like, because I want the best for you. And I know that when you operate from a space of excellence, your business now becomes a standard. Like, it's no longer like I don't want you guys having the mindset of, what is the standard? How can I just be subpar? Like, no, I want all of you to be operating from a space where in your industry, in your niche, you are the standard. Like people are like, oh, who's the best in our industry? Like they look at you. How do you operate your business where you are the standard? Not when you're trying to meet somebody else's standard. Like that's a level of excellence. When I say operating from a space of excellence, that is what I mean. Where you are the bar, you are the standard. And I know I have a commitment to doing whatever I can within our programs. And this is why we're starting to think about what does that next level of support look like for our students. You know, right now I only sell one thing. Services that sell is the only way that you can get your hands on me, that I can get my hands on you, is really to support you with building a business that is making healthy 5 figures, right? That is that's the goal of services that sell. But, you know, we're toying around with like a lot of ideas, not a lot, like there's like 2 major tracks that we're thinking about going through next to help people elevate their business and grow beyond the 6-figure mark. And it's like, how do we just make sure that we're helping businesses because we've helped so many of you grow. We've helped so many of you make way more money than you had before we worked together, which